Before today's video starts, I'd like to let you all know that I've got a Discord channel now open to the public, and an Odyssey account. Both links will be in the description of all my future and past videos. Enjoy. I'm fairly sure my friends and I killed a skinwalker. I say skinwalker in quotation marks since we're in the UK, so it might be some werewolf thing. Shall I explain more?
Go for it.
It's not going to be extremely exciting and full of explosions and firearms since we're in the UK. Day 1. Go out with 2 friends on a camping trip, aim to do a bit of bow hunting and a bit of tracking. It'll last for 3 days. The land is a very dense woodland with lots of groves of yew and beech, and parts are very swampy and water-filled. One of my friends is called Tom. He's only been camping a couple of times like myself, not too experienced and wants to learn more. My other friend is called Richard. He's a very experienced hunter who's gone on hunts with tribes in Africa. He's very good in the outdoors, doesn't take much when he goes camping, and goes for weeks at the time on his own. We're aiming to learn from him. He also took a replica Anglo-Saxon sword with him because he's been in this location before and he met feral dogs. We get camp set up, tarps strung, and leave our food out. We all go on a walk. Richard is showing us edible plants and medicinal herbs. We come back to find Tom's shitty hiking bag ripped to pieces and the food scattered everywhere. Richard took his small satchel with him when we went on the walk and my bag was untouched. We assume it's a fox or feral dog that did it. Tom's annoyed, but we have lots of food and his tarp and sleeping bag weren't destroyed. We cook food on our fire and try to get to sleep when we hear rustling around our camp. Richard just orders us to put more wood on the fire. We do, and the rustling can be heard all through the night. I don't get to sleep all night, everyone else does. Day 2. I finally get a few hours of sleep in the morning, still pretty tired. Richard has been up earliest, and he's smoking tobacco and looking off into the woods. Tom is still asleep. It's around 10 in the morning and Richard talks to me in a low voice. He says,
"Listen, I found a dead fox a few feet outside of camp when I woke up. It had been torn to shreds. I don't know what did it, but we'll need a lot more wood tonight. Also, don't tell Tom."
I agree, and then I wake Tom up and all 3 of us go hunting and snaring. Richard has a bow and Tom has an air rifle. Richard shoots a few rabbits and Tom gets 2 squirrels, even though he's never been hunting before. We set a few snares up, and we'll go back to them at dusk. Squirrels often have fleas on them, so Richard climbs up a tree and hangs it from a branch, around 10 feet off the ground, to make sure all the fleas go away. We'll collect that at dusk. We spend the rest of the time gathering wood, smoking, and preparing our rabbits for our meal later. They're hanging above the fire in the smoke to stop the flies from eating them. It's getting dark, and Tom and Richard gather their kills. I stay at camp and I keep hearing rustling and growling coming from a bush near our camp. I get the fire going and keep my axe close. They come back and Tom is obviously shaken up. He says the squirrel he hung was torn completely off the trees, only the legs were left. The rabbits that we caught in the snares hadn't been eaten, but some creature left huge claw marks on the bodies. They just played with it and left it to die. Richard starts cooking the rabbits he shot earlier and the growls and rustles keep getting closer. Then it starts howling. This isn't any fox or feral dog. It's like a fucking banshee. Imagine the screams of a woman mixed with a coyote howl, and that's what it sounds like. Richard has decided he's had enough and he shoots an arrow into the bush. A large, black creature just runs out. We only see it from behind, but it's got long arms that hang from its side, and a very hunched back. With the back hunched, it's still 8 feet tall. It has dark, matted fur, and the smell is disgusting. It smells of burning hair and rotting meat. Richard and I start making traps. We make Viet Cong style foot traps all along the camp, and Richard smears mud all over his face and jumps up high in a tree, with his bow in hand and sword in his belt. He's a crazy motherfucker. Tom and I stick by the fire and hold our weapons close. I just have a long sharpened stick and an axe. He has an air rifle and a knife. Our weapons wouldn't do much. Richard's bow is enough to kill a deer, or an unarmored person, and so we hope that could do the damage. We keep hearing howling in the woods, and the howling gets closer and closer. We finally see it silhouetted against the ridge, although it's very hard to see. Tom and I put a lot of wood on the fire and I'm shitting myself. Tom is worse, he's very pale and shivering, even though it's a warm night. The creature goes past the bush, that's around 15 feet away from camp. It goes past the tree Richard is standing in, and Richard starts shooting it from the tree. The animal runs forward to get away from the arrows, but it gets closer to the fire. I can see it closer now. It's got a canine-like face, but something about it is strangely human. I throw down my spear and grab a burning stick out the fire and wave it around. Tom is doing the same, and Richard is still shooting arrows into its back. There's at least 5 arrows in there and it's not even flinching. Richard just screams and runs up with his sword and keeps on hacking and slashing. The creature keeps on screaming, and the smell of its blood is very acrid. Richard gets a large gash on his cheek and gets scratched by the creature, and it runs off into the forest. We see the creature's arm lying on the ground, and Richard's sword is covered with black blood. It felt like 30 minutes, but time has gone by incredibly fast. It's 3 in the morning. We put more wood on the fire and Richard stays by and cleans his sword. We hear screaming all night and trees crashing and falling, and then one final scream that stops. As the sun rises, we clear up our traps, burn the arm of the creature and gather our shit, and get out of there. Tom has nightmares about it for weeks and hasn't gone camping since. I take a machete whenever I go on overnighters, and I always have a large roaring fire. Richard keeps on hunting and camping and starts getting interested into skinwalkers and paranormal shit, and he introduces me to it. We still go camping sometimes, and he's always very vigilant. He also converts to Anglo-Saxon heathenism and starts going back to the same forest and tries to appease the land whites of the area. He tells me that he clears evil from the forest, although he doesn't tell me exactly what he does. That's my story. Sounds implausible, I know, but it truly happened and I'm not going to that place again. The scar of Richard's got infected but eventually healed, if you wanted to know.